Hi, everybody. This is Mike Kerr, and this is the Recon Report for August 26th, a beautiful Wednesday here in the mountains of Idaho. Listen, I appreciate the fact that some of you have said there was some noise with papers and stuff. I'm trying a new setup today, and I've ordered some more equipment that should eliminate that. I'll do the best I can to keep that noise down when I turn the pages of my notes. So it's been an incredibly busy couple of days, and we have a lot to go over today. It's just insane what's happening out there. First of all, let's take a look. Melania Trump gave her speech last night at the Republican National Convention, and man, I'll tell you what, she knocked it out of the park. She talked about unity and bringing the country back together. She said that she and her husband, President Donald Trump, were deeply, deeply saddened by the violence sweeping across America. And so am I. I mean, it's really pitiful what's happening out there. You know, she went on to say that we should be learning from our past and not repeating it. And absolutely, that's what we should be doing. But whoa, leave it to the liberals to come out and have to cut her down. There was a very famous actress, and I'm not going to mention her name right now, but you can look it up. All you have to do is Google actress who criticized Melania Trump, who said that she couldn't speak English. Now, what a racist comment. I mean, the liberals are running on a platform of no racism, but, you know, they are racist. You know, they're saying that they're hiding behind this. We are peaceful protesters. We are not racist and all that. And at the same time, look what's happening. Look at Portland again. Kenosha, look at what happened there, which we're going to talk about. You know, do you see the hypocrisy that's involved within the Democratic National Party? I mean, it's really something else. The liberals say one thing and do something else, and that's not news. We've known that for a long time. So get out and vote. Make sure that your voice is heard. Now let's look at Kenosha. Sad, sad night. We reported yesterday that the young man, Jacob Blake, who was shot in the officer-involved shooting there, which has still not come to light exactly what happened, but he was left paralyzed. Doctors say today that it'll take a miracle for him to walk again. Sad, sad stuff. But gunfire in Kenosha left 2 dead and 1 wounded. And 3 people were shot early Wednesday morning. 2 of them were shot fatally. Law enforcement officials said that during a chaotic night of demonstrations over the shooting of Jacob Blake, a Black resident whose children were nearby as their father was shot this week by white police officers. Okay, not a good thing, but we don't know the whole story there yet. Tuesday evening was spent shifting hours-long standoffs between the police and protesters. Protesters assembled outside a newly erected metal barrier protecting the courthouse and threw water bottles, rocks, and fireworks at the police. The police responded, as they should, with tear gas and rubber bullets. Okay, that's like a reasonable use of force for something like this. They used a bullhorn, and they announced that the curfew of 8 p.m. was being violated. So they were giving fair warning to these peaceful protesters. The crowd eventually left the courthouse and the park when the tear gas got onto the streets, but the standoff continued. Many of the protesters left the area and headed down the street to a gas station, a privately owned business by a resident of Kenosha. Now, there was a group of men collected out in front of that gas station who said that they were going to protect the property of the owner, that they were not going to let these people burn down this gas station, the BLM, whoever they were nowadays, we don't know. But it got ugly. There was a lot of pushing and shoving, and after midnights, shots rang out at the gas station. 3 people were struck, and the Kenosha Police Department said there were absolutely 2 fatalities. The 3rd person shot is recovering in a hospital today. And, you know, this is just really, really sad news, folks. I mean, it truly is sad when you see this going on out there, and knowing that these people were trying to protect their own property. And now 2 people are dead, 1 person is injured, and whoever did the shooting, I'm sure, will be brought to trial and have to defend themselves for defending the property and business of a private citizen. Again, as we say every day, how long in America are we going to let this go on? It's just crazy. It's just truly crazy what's going on out there, folks. So I think we need to pray. Let's pray for peace. Let's pray for unity, as Melania Trump said. Let's get our country back. Now, let's look at ABC. The lovely ABC trashed pro-life teen Nicholas Sandmann before he spoke at the Republican convention. ABC revealed that they were taking notes from CNN and MSNBC on how to continue smearing former Covington Catholic student Nick Sandmann and the St. Louis McCluskeys, both slated to speak this week. The McCluskeys, of course, were the couple that defended their property with their guns. They didn't shoot anybody, but they told everybody, if you come on my property, I'm going to shoot you. Now, what's wrong with that? Where I live, nobody would say anything about that, because we believe, as Americans should believe, that we have the right to defend ourselves and our property as guaranteed by the Constitution. But CNN, NBC decides, you know, that they're going to teach ABC how to cover this. A horrible, horrible thing. You know, the anchor, Diane Macedo, prompted Washington correspondent Rachel Scott to comment Real Americans scheduled to speak during the convention. Scott couldn't hide her disdain for the St. Louis couple who defended their home against a violent leftist mob. What disdain could she possibly have, guys? I mean, it's ridiculous. And she's calling the Black Lives Matters peaceful protesters. I'm sorry, look what's going on. Look at Kenosha, look at Portland, look at Los Angeles, look at the cities across the country where they're burning things down. They're throwing bricks through windows of people who spent their life and their life savings to open up a business and to run a business to support their family. And what do these people want? They want a handout. It's just awful, 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 awful. You know, they went on to say that some of the people speaking at the convention were controversial figures. Now, as we have a moment of racial reckoning in our country, basically we're almost at civil war, in my opinion. One is the St. Louis couple, of course, who defended their property. I mean, and again, rightly so. They have every right under the Constitution to protect their property. And, you know, ABC's saying, why let them speak? You know, it's just insane. And Rachel, I mean, the commentator for ABC, reflected that some of the real American people that you're seeing have been people who are disgraced, not people to rally around, like the St. Louis couple and the young man who interacted with an elder Native American in DC. And so they're attacking this young man. They're going after him. They're saying that Nicholas Sandmann, who's pro-life, who believes in the Constitution, who stood up for our flag, is not someone we'd want to follow. That's the liberal agenda right there. They went on to trash Herschel Walker with racial slurs after the football star endorsed President Trump. In his speech, he said, "I'm not an actor, a singer, or a politician." He made it clear that he's just a normal guy. He is the former NFL player and current co-chair of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. A father, a man of faith, and a very good judge of character. Now, I mean, why do they go on and figure that they can trash someone like this? He's known Donald Trump for 37 years. And one thing that he said about Trump, clearly to all of America, is that Trump is not a racist. This is another black man who has come out and said Trump is not a racist. Walker grew up in the Deep South, so he knows what racism really is. Sadly, intolerant folks on social media, and I'm talking a bunch of them, called him an Uncle Tom. So there you go. You have it again. One more time, there go the liberals, okay, standing up on a soapbox saying, oh, we're all for racial equality, and then calling a black man Uncle Tom for standing up for Donald Trump. What's up with that? Really? I mean, come on. You know, it's just something else. And then at the convention, Cardinal Dolan opened up by saying, "In God we trust." Well, you know, that just sent the hair up on the backs of all the liberals. I mean, it just freaked them out. Now, the Cardinal, of course, is Catholic, and he's a man of God. I mean, you can bash Catholics if you need to, but the man spoke the truth last night. You know, he's there and he's talking about how we need to come together. He prayed in Thanksgiving for a country where freedom of religion is so cherished, where both Republicans and Democrats can share and bow their heads in prayer. He prayed for the suffering from the coronavirus, for the frontline workers, our troubled cities, the police that guard them, and for the unborn and our elders in nursing care. Okay, how can you find something objectionable about that? You know, he went on to say regarding immigrants and refugees, those lives threatened by religious persecution throughout the world or by plague, hunger, human trafficking, drugs, or war, all need to be prayed for. Now, again, the liberals are going to attack him for that. There's no doubt about it. Okay, he concluded his speech with, "For we dare claim, in God we trust." Amen. How can they take offense in a country that stands by, "In God we trust"? This is the problem, America. And only you can change this. Only you can change this. And as always here on the Recon Report, I'm not telling you to take my word for any of this. Google it. Go out there and look at it. Go to the different websites where you can find the truth and look into it for yourself. So let's go on with Joe Biden. Here's Joe. Oh, Joe, I can't believe you did this one. Joe Biden will force Christians to fund the killing of 60,000 babies every year through abortion if he's elected into office. Now, he'll dodge that, but listen to this. They're not talking about Biden's radical pro-abortion platform. Hear me? As someone famous once said, read my lips. Pro-abortion platform. Basically, murder babies. That's the way it is. You know, he repeatedly bringing up compassion for the vulnerable and his devotion to his Catholic faith, Biden quietly embraced the billion with a B, dollar abortion industry's demands for unregulated, unrestricted killing of unborn babies in abortion paid for by taxpayers. That's you and me. I'm not going to pay for any abortions. I will guarantee you that. It is not going to happen on my watch. You know, Biden's newfound support for the taxpayer-funded abortions was not discussed at all during the convention. Gee, I wonder why. Like, that's like a big, huge surprise. You know, they're so afraid that we, as the moral majority, will stand up and say no, that they're trying to slide this under the carpet. Sneaky Joe, there he goes again. But you've been warned, and all you have to do is go out there and do the research. Kristen Day, executive director of the Democrats for Life of America, told The Beacon that it's because even many pro-choice voters do not want taxpayer-paid abortions. I would think not. I mean, look, you can sit back in your chair and you can say, hey, I'm pro-choice. A woman should be able to make her choice. Of course, we can't make a choice whether we wear a mask or not. But hey, if you want to murder a baby that's in your womb, go right ahead. But they don't want to pay for it either. So do you see the sickness and the evil that surrounds this administration that's trying to get into office? And we haven't even gotten to the lies he told and the lies that Kamela, the adulteress, Harris, told when she did her speech and her talk and in her interviews. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. You know, it's the extreme position that they've been pushing on abortion is really not very popular with a lot of Americans. You'd be surprised. We see that Planned Parenthood is slowly but surely getting a lot of heat, and people aren't going there. They're, you know, it's come out what they really do. Now the campaign is obviously taking note. Biden's campaign is taking note of this. So what does he do? He just doesn't bring it up. He just lies by omission. He just tries to sneak it on through. And what he's doing is he wants to fund Planned Parenthood. Like many Democrats, he used to support the pro-life amendment, but last summer, he caved into the pressure of the billion-dollar funded abortion lobby and promised to end it if elected. Biden also said one of his first acts as president would be to restore funding for Planned Parenthood. Look, if you vote for Biden, you're voting for Satan. That's the bottom line. He's going to fund murder, and Planned Parenthood aborts more than 340,000 babies a year. Now, tell me, is Planned Parenthood worse than the COVID virus? I think so. Absolutely. Absolutely they are. The Hyde Amendment prohibits taxpayers from funding elective abortions in Medicaid and other federal programs since it was first enacted. The amendment has saved approximately 2.4 million babies. That's a lot of babies, folks. You know, the amendment used to have strong bipartisan support in Congress and still does among the general public. An overwhelming majority of Americans want restrictions on abortions. Overwhelming majority, you know, but here it comes. Biden wants to get rid of the Hyde Amendment. He wants it wiped out so that the government can pay for as much as they want. You know, I mean, it's just crazy, 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 you know, that they want to allow Medicaid to pay for the killing of babies. Not exactly what I put money into Medicaid for. I don't know about you, but it's not what I put money in Medicaid for. So, I mean, you look at the fact that approximately 60,000 more unborn babies could be aborted every year in the US at taxpayers' expense if the Hyde Amendment is ended. Now that, my goodness, is sad to say. What they go on to say is this is the liberals now, this is Biden's buddies and his team. They go on to say it's so inconsistent to say that we want to protect immigrants at the border, people from gun violence, and all these areas where the Democratic Party supports human rights, violence against the LGBT community. And then they go out and promote killing of babies. It is absurd. Innocent little babies in the womb, and they advocate for taxpayers to pay for those abortions. I mean, it's so completely inconsistent with the Democratic Party positions on other issues when they're trying to say they're out there protecting everybody and social justice, and we need to stand up to social injustice. Oh, okay, Joe, let's go kill some babies. Just incredible, incredible. Now let's talk about mainstream media for a second. Really, Bill Gates? It turns out that Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates, spends so much money backing NPR. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They back NPR to get their message out there. NPR's funding from Gates is insane. I mean, what he does, you know, NPR is one of hundreds of media outlets that the Gates Foundation is supporting. And you know, if you add his buddies into the mix, all the other billionaire philanthropists out there that are supporting this media, what's really happening here, folks? Think about it. What's really happening here is they're controlling the message. They're controlling the message that goes out so that they can manipulate the sheeple, and they can turn this country and the world into their own little backyard playground. And we can't let them do that. NPR is vicious, they're heinous. I have been on the wrong end of NPR. They don't care about the truth. They'll say whatever they need to say to hurt your agenda. And in my case, my agenda at the time was helping the widows and children of America's killed, serving in action, defending our freedom, and seeking out terrorists here, you know, and they chose to attack myself and my wife, you know. And NPR is just it's a rat's nest, you know. And I'm just saying that you take a look at what's going on, and it's the agenda. It's the new world order. So pay attention to what you're listening to out there. And again, I encourage you, do your own research. Please do your own research. Now, let's look at Michael Snyder. Michael Snyder does a blog called The Economic Collapse. A wonderful man. I have had the pleasure of meeting him. He is a true believer in Christ. He's just a great guy, very insightful. I highly suggest you follow him. He did a piece that's running this week. And again, please go to The Economic Collapse, Michael Snyder, and look this up, where he says that the headline of the article, folks, is "We should mourn for what is happening to America." I mean, he takes a look at this week in Wisconsin, in Kenosha. Next week, it's probably going to be somewhere else. Another senseless police shooting. We think this one, it looks senseless. We don't know yet, but when everything comes out, we'll have to find out what really went on there. And all of these are followed by more rioting, looting, and violence. You know, rioting, looting, and violence have basically become a nightly occurrence in America. and it's almost accepted. I mean, just look at what is going on. What will actually stop the chaos and the violence, and when will it actually stop? What do we have to do as a country to put a stop to this? Many of us, I would be included in this, feel it's time to bring in some military support for these cities. Rid Portland of what's going on there. Go into Kenosha and shut this down. Heck, the parents of the gentleman who was shot, and I use the word gentleman loosely, but the man who was shot, they are denouncing the violence. They are Trump supporters. They say that they do not want their son's memory honored by burning down buildings, throwing bricks through windows, and stealing stuff, looting. It's just a neat little name that we call out and out stealing. And they're against it. Yet Black Lives Matter seizes on this. And who supports Black Lives Matters? The Democratic National Party. Joe Biden and Kamela the adulteress Harris. They support them. They take a knee for them. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We have to put a stop to this. You know, Michael goes on in his article to say that he just felt so sad today. We're literally watching the meltdown of our society, and the process is going to continue no matter what happens in November. He's never seen America in so much anger. And the frightening thing is that the level of anger just keeps growing. And yes, I see that too. I get more angry every day. I don't know about you, but I get more angry with this. I want to put a stop to it. I have friends who are Black and I love them. I have friends who are brown and I love them and support their efforts. It's time to get back to that. It's time to get back to where we support one another. Michael Snyder, The Economic Collapse. Get over there and take a look at it. You know, the violence now crossing the country, what started in Minneapolis and it spread to Kenosha, Denver, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, and further. What's the really common denominator in all of this? It's not social injustice. It's causing destruction, stealing or looting, creating havoc, trying to defund the police. The very police that, as I remember, literally saved a group of Antifa protesters that went to the Sturgis rally. Yeah, that must have been nice when our little Antifas went back to their Antifa little buddies and say, ooh, thank goodness the police were there to save us because they were going to kick our butts. Well, you know, that's where we're at in America today. Sad, 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 sad. Even during Vietnam, the Vietnam War protesters were pretty much peaceful. They weren't going through towns burning down the city and all that. Sure, they burned their bras, they burned the draft cards, they did stuff like that, right? But they didn't take out a city and murder and pillage, which is what these young, mostly punks are doing out there. Stand up to it. So now let's just take a look at Sneaky Joe. Sneaky Joe is just, I mean, he is off the hook, crazy. So is Kamela. I mean, you know, we had the episode that the media is affectionately calling Black Monday for the Christian world. That's when, of course, Jerry Falwell Jr. was exposed for some really kinky stuff, some very weird stuff, if it's true. He has stepped down from his position at Liberty, you know, and there's a wave of this going on right now. Perry Stone, very popular evangelist. I think he's from Cleveland, Tennessee, is where his ministry is based. He stepped down, stepped away. He said he's repented. He was accused of inappropriate behavior with some female employees of the ministry. And you all have seen the news, you know, about Jerry Falwell. So the media is putting their arms around this and saying this is what the religious right is all about. Wrong. You know, I am religious right. That stuff doesn't go on in my life, and it never will. It doesn't go on in the life of the pastors that I know and the men that I know that preach the word of God. It doesn't happen, you know, but they're now blowing this all up, and they are actually, Kamela Harris actually has made some comments about Jerry Falwell Jr. and his wife, Becky. How dare she? This is a woman who had a torrid affair with a government official and politician and mayor of San Francisco. Totally was out, I mean, you know, doing what they do. Yet she can bash someone like this. Of course, this is the same person that said that she agreed with all the women who accused Biden of inappropriately touching them. I mean, let's look at what Biden's done. You know, a female Democrat in Nevada said that Biden's demeaning and disrespectful behavior, smelling her hair and kissing her head with hands on her shoulders. I mean, come on. I mean, and this is a Democrat. This is one of his own. I mean, the media has been very, very quiet about numerous incidents that Biden handling, hugging numerous children, even in the presence of their parents, and recorded on television, on YouTube. Numerous things that brought up him being called Creepy Joe. One headline screamed, "Dad confronts Creepy Joe Biden over child molestation." But Joe didn't answer that question. He didn't answer it. Moreover, he was removed from a public meeting for bringing this up. There you go. Liberals again, marching by a whole nother word. In March of 2020, it was a bad day for Biden when Tara Reade, one of his former Senate aides, publicly charged Biden with sexually assaulting her in 1993. According to the Business Insider, Biden pressed her against a wall in the Capitol hallway, reached under her shirt, and digitally penetrated her. And he's running for president? I mean, and the Democrats are supporting him? She filed a complaint with the Senate Personnel Office concerning Biden's alleged sexual harassment and retaliation, but didn't mention the alleged assault. Biden has unequivocally denied assaulting and harassing Reade. Well, of course he did. You know, you're really surprised about that. But then 7 other women came out. 7 other women came out and accused him of touching them inappropriately or invading their personal space in ways that made them feel uncomfortable. They said Biden's behavior did not amount to sexual harassment or assault, but they were just made uncomfortable. So what does Creepy Joe do? He issues a statement. He's not sorry for anything that I've never done. What about the Democrat in Nevada who he was smelling her hair and kissing her head with hands on her shoulders? Well, what about that? And you can actually, if you're a liberal, you can actually get behind this man and say that you're for social equality. Where's the Me Too movement? Where are they in all this? You know, I mean, now let's look at what Kamela said. Joe Biden's presidential choice said she believed the women who accused Biden of inappropriate contact, including touching and kissing. I believe them and I respect them being able to tell their story and having the courage to do so. Okay, excuse me. I mean, That's what she believes until he offers her a job. And now she's like 100% behind him. Uh, can you say hypocrite? Flip flop? Now, what makes you think when she gets in office, she's not going to flip flop on things? And Joe Biden's son, Hunter, assured everyone of his father's honesty and integrity at the convention while introducing his father. But that's kind of like Italian Benito Mussolini vouching for his German buddy with the funny haircut and the weird mustache. You know, yeah, Adolf was a misunderstood former choir boy who always keeps his word. So come on. I mean, really? I mean, let's just look at this. Really? You know, and then let's take the fact that this is the same Hunter Biden who made 1.5 billion with a B on a questionable foreign deal. Joe can settle that once and for all, tell the whole truth about it, open up the appropriate records, and let's let everybody be candid. Think he'll do it? I don't think so. You know, we can go on and on. Kamela flip-flops back and forth all over the time, you know, and what she says is it's, you know, I mean, she's a woman of color, and, you know, that's really, I mean, if that really matters, what are her leadership skills? You know, evidently it doesn't matter to many Democrats because they're proving they're all racist. I mean, Harris was Attorney General in California and had the reputation of sleeping her way to the top of the heap. She was openly, folks, the mistress of Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco. So our possible vice president is a fornicator. Go figure that. How does this stuff happen? You know, I mean, I guess that's why prostitution is still the oldest profession in the world. The quid pro quo works. What can you say? You know, so Kamela lied about smoking weed. She lied about music. You know, I mean, it was untrue that Harris graduated college. Nowhere near that. No, I mean, it just, what's going on out there is crazy. And you know what? While they're pushing for a vaccine, while they're trying to tell us all to get vaccinated, I think they need their own vaccine. And it's a vaccine for hypocrisy. I think that's what really needs to go on. And I'm not even going to get into all the stuff about her being a descendant of a slave owner and all that stuff. I mean, what's it really matter? You know, I mean, it's just that you see that our next vice president is not only a fornicator, but also a hypocrite. Hopefully, Dr. Fauci can come up with a vaccine for that. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden make the perfect choice for the leftist socialists out there, the fornicators, baby killers, open border fanatics, reparation zealots, and Democrats who have terminal brain rot. So there it is. Those are the top stories going on right now, folks, that you want to look into. Don't forget Michael Snyder, the Economic Collapse blog. Check him out. Take a good hard look at what he has to write. He's a very intelligent man with a lot of good stuff to say. And let's all, including myself, let's try to stop the anger and let's get busy making America great again. So we'll see you tomorrow on another edition of the Recon Report.